All right, we're in. Welcome to the show, guys. We're talking, a very important topic. Obviously, get yourself situated. We're talking about the Gaza conflict, the situation between Israel and Palestine, but specifically African voices, Black voices in that conversation, and a post that I saw on my Substack feed that raised a very, very important conversation that I think is definitely worth having. And that is whether silence is always complicity. Whether silence is always complicity. That is what we're going to be discussing today. Whether silence is always complicity. So make yourselves comfortable. Let me actually open up this conversation a little bit now. Customization, subscribers, okay. Let me open up the conversation a little bit for the comments and let everybody in. So that's what we're going to be discussing today, guys. So everybody make yourselves comfortable. It's an important topic. I made a video about it that I posted on my Instagram, which caused quite a conversation. And I feel like it's worth doing. Everybody on TikTok, welcome. Make sure you like and share the live. Like and share the live on TikTok. Everybody on TikTok, like and share the live. Like and share the live, everybody on the TikTok feed. Okay, tap the screen, multi-tap the screen. All right. So I'm going to give people a little bit of time to get in here, get themselves situated. Let me get my mic sorted out. The Substackers as well, hopefully there is no glitches this time, because we keep having all these glitches, and I don't know why we keep having these glitches. But I want to say welcome to the Substack crew. Welcome to the Substack crew. Oops. I have to sign up. Oops. Okay, let me get myself over here now, because it's saying that I have to have a different. Okay. All right. All right. We've got everybody. If you're in the Substack feed, please type in the chat that you're there so I know you're there. If you're on TikTok, please type in the chat where you're hailing from. Type in the chat where you're hailing from. Multi-tap the screen, multi-tap the screen. If you're on the YouTube, do the same thing. Give me a comment. Let me know where you're in from, where you're listening in from, in the comment section. As I said, what we are talking about today is silence on Gaza complicity, an African perspective. Is silence on Gaza complicity an African perspective? Okay, that is what we're talking about today. Okay, that is what we're talking about today. So as I said, I'm going to give people a bit of time to get in here. Give people a bit of time to get in here. Okay. Give people a bit of time to get in here, because it's a very serious conversation. Some people might think they know what I'm going to say in this, but they don't. I can guarantee that. Everybody like and share on TikTok, like and share the live YouTube. Like I said, everybody, please let me know that you're in the house. Let me know that you are in the house. Gio, welcome. John Jackson, welcome. Oppo the Boat, welcome. Gabrielle, welcome. Okay, welcome everybody. Yeah, so guys, this was all precipitated. This was all instigated by a post that I saw on Substack. I saw a post where somebody said that it's a Gary Lineker quote that has gone everywhere, where he said, silence is complicity on Gaza. Like, if you're silent on it, you're complicit, which means that you're in support of what is going on over there. And I saw that, and my reaction to that was very simple. I said, oh, does this count for Congo, Sudan, Ethiopia, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and all the African countries, and Libya, of course, and the African nations that have been in genocidal violence and been exploited, and millions of them dying over the last 100 years, 200 years, 150 years? I was questioning that. And I said, look, does this also apply? And the guy got annoyed, insulted me, blocked me, so on and so forth, and said that, oh, this is not the same because the Gaza situation is on the news 24/7. Everybody can see what's going on, so you can't compare it. And I told him that, that's my exact point. First of all, the fact that you're insulting me actually shows that, your arrogance, in terms of feeling like you can dictate exactly how Africans should and shouldn't react to things. But the second factor is the fact that you're saying that this thing is all over the news. Has the Congo situation been all over the news? Has it ever been all over the news? Even when Rwanda was having a genocide, the Rwanda genocide was on the news, but did it have the same kind of global attention? No. Now, this is not to, and again, this is why people might get confused. I'm not saying that the Gaza thing should not get attention. That's not my point. My point is it has attention. As Africans, we have to shine a light on the things that you're not focusing on, because if we don't, nobody will. How somebody can have a problem with that, I don't know. Is it by force that I have to talk about that conflict with my airtime when I could be using that airtime? Oh, you have to talk about all conflicts. No, we don't. No, we don't. Because when those things are not happening or they're not flaring up, who's talking about Congo and Sudan? You said that you have to talk about all conflicts. How many of you guys are talking about and marching in the streets and flooding the streets for Congo? It doesn't happen. When has the streets of the world flooded for Congo, who have been getting murdered for decades, 100 years? So my thing is that, look, people, and this is the problem. The moment you say anything like this, automatically, oh, you're pro-genocide. You're pro what's happening. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, I have literally said that I don't agree with what's going on. I definitely empathize with the suffering of these children and families who are getting who are the collateral for these power games that have been happening over there. I don't support any of that stuff. But that doesn't mean that I'm obligated to use airtime to talk about that factor instead of this, or I'm obligated to talk about it at all. Me not talking about it doesn't make it me complicit in what's happening in every situation. That was my point to the guys. Like, listen, at the end of the day, I sit down and what are the forefront things on my mind? And that's actually the reality of things. If you want to be honest, it's like, okay, look, what are the things that are forefront on my mind? You know what, to be honest, man, I see the videos that people send me about what's happening in Congo. I see the videos of what's happening or what they're trying to do in the Sahel region. I see the videos of Ethiopia and Sudan. I'm like, I see people who look like me, who are black, they're African. And that's the thing I think about most. I'm not thinking about the Israel-Palestine situation at the forefront of my mind. Does that make me a bad person? No. It's just that at the forefront of my mind, I'm thinking that I'm thinking about Nigeria, the north of Nigeria. What's happening in Nigeria? Because that's my country. It's where I have to live. Oh, yeah, that doesn't mean you should have time for it. And I'm like, okay, if that is the case, that everybody should have time for everybody, have you had time for us? You see what I'm saying? If that is the case, most of the people who are criticizing, I look in their timeline, how much have you posted about these African conflicts over the last 5 years? How much have you posted about it? How much have you talked about it? Most of them, none. They haven't. Oh, well, we didn't know. I'm like, listen, you could know if you want to know. Then you can start asking the question about the media and like, okay, why isn't the media talking about these things? You can then start asking those questions. You can then ask those questions. So that's my viewpoint on it, and some people had a problem with me saying that. Some people had a problem. They were like, oh, well, let me actually see some comments on Substack. I feel that any and every American who lives their everyday lives are essentially complicit, but complicity within the world's issues is literally part of the American culture. So people start feeling personally called to break that complicity based on what they are exposed to. But if their care is selective, then they are inherently complicit in all the problems, even the ones they are speaking on. Okay, Jamia Scott, that was from Oppo the Boat. Jamia Scott says, heavy on the fact that they are not keeping this you are complicit energy for the pillage of Africa as a continent. Exactly. Jamia Scott, that is the problem I have. I'm like, this whole complicity thing, does it apply to us? That was my question. I said, does it apply to us? That's all I said, and people are annoyed. And the reason why you're annoyed is because you've got called out. You're angry because I called you out. Because it doesn't apply to us. If the silence is complicity, then everybody who doesn't speak up about what they're doing to the Congo while you're using your mobile phones, your computers, your laptops, all the electric cars and everything that is coming from the resources coming out of the Congo, then you're complicit. And that is actually not even a hard stretch. You are directly complicit. Thai Politic, how are you? Thai Politic, how are you? If you're even in here. That's all I said, guys. I do not know how that is complicated. I do not know how that is complicated, and I also don't know how anybody can disagree with me. How do you disagree with what I said? How do you disagree with what I said? Gabrielle says, when has whatever African population says about injustice changed the minds of the masses? Never. Waste energy. We need all the energy for unification of our interests. Exactly. Every ounce of energy every African with a platform has, every second, every millisecond, every frame of footage has to be focused on African issues. Every moment, every frame. Same thing with Black America. I do not know what Black Americans are doing talking about anything other than what they're going through. Every second of a Black American's energy needs to be focused on their situation because nobody else gives a damn. It's like, this is just the reality of things. Like who else is going to, this is the issue. Yes, America did have that situation with George Floyd where the whole world came together for that. Yes, that did happen. Finally. So of course there is some obligation that people may feel that, oh, you know what, the world marched for us when this happened. So, we want X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, that's a very separate conversation that we could have, because I looked at that and I said, I'm not a fan of marching and protesting. I felt like, look, what is constructive self-sufficiency and agency is Black America going to take from this? Jamia Scott says, it's the fact that they know addressing Africa means addressing privilege when it comes to the way that mineral exploitation runs the West. Of course. Of course. That's the real issue. That's the reason why they don't want to talk about these things. That's the real issue. That's why. I mean, because it's going to force you to take some level of accountability for a lot of things you do not want to be accountable for. It's going to force you to take a level of accountability for a lot of things you do not want to be accountable for. This is the truth. So I never said anything negative. I never minimized what is going on over there. Not for 1 second. I never minimized it. Never minimize it. I think it's very serious. I think it's something that deserves attention. I'm happy that so many people are giving attention to what's happening in the Palestine-Israel conflict. I'm glad. That doesn't mean that we all have to, based on the way things go. It doesn't mean that we all have to, because it is about a finite amount of energy and focus that we have that we can put towards things. We have a finite amount of energy and time. And listen, I'm sure that there are people who disagree with what I'm saying. But I think because people have this knee-jerk reaction, they automatically need to say that by saying that you support the genocide. You see what I'm saying? Like, I think that's the only direction you can go in, because your brain can't process that a Black or African person can actually say, yes, we empathize with what's going on, but we prioritize ourselves. Oh, but ourselves, and I've seen these arguments. Don't you see how it is the same enemy? Don't you see how by fighting this, you're helping yourselves? That is trickle-down economics logic. And you know the trickle-down never trickles down to the Black folks. That's like Reagan's trickle-down economics. Oh, you help and then everybody gets. That is what the Democrats have been doing in America for generations, and it never helps the Black people. We will help everybody else and say that by helping them, we're helping you. No, how about you help guys directly? How about you deal with people directly and let the help that you're giving us trickle down to somebody else? How about somebody else experiences the trickle-down effect? You see what I'm saying? It's always that argument, because I kept seeing that thing when I posted the video. Guys kept saying that, oh, can't you see how by fighting Zionism and by fighting this stuff, we're fighting the same mindset that has oppressed Africa? I was like, okay, how about you come and fight African issues and let that conflict trickle down to them? How about that? Would they accept that? Would anybody accept that to help the Arab-Israeli situation, you come to Africa and then fight the African battles, and then Africans tell you that, no, 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 come and fight our battle, because when you fight our battle, you're fighting your battle too? Nobody would accept that. We're the only people that are expected to accept this diffused third, fourth, fifth, seventh, eighth hand attention. Only Africans and Black folks, like you guys, are the ones that we don't need to directly deal with you. We can deal with other things while we get you to help us deal with those things. And we tell you that by dealing with them and helping us deal with them, they'll deal with your stuff, which never happens. Now you're frustrated that guys are like, you know what, I'm done with that. I'm not doing that anymore. Now you're frustrated that, oh, guys, we're done with that. We're not doing. Oh, no, no, guys. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, no, no, no. It would make sense for Africans to speak on Palestine because the USA is aiding the bombing of Palestine, and the US has the US African Command in Africa. It would make sense for to speak on, the USA is aiding and the US has the, I don't understand what's that's the point I just made. Africans speaking on Palestine because the USA is aiding. How about the Africans speak on the African Command in Africa and the Sahel Alliance, which is what we're trying to do? Why do we have to focus on something else to deal with what we're dealing with? Do you know what is going on in Africa right now? Everybody, listen, this is the crazy part. There is no media coverage on the Sahel. Nothing. The only thing that they talk about when it comes to the Sahel is negative. Smearing a guy, smearing Captain Traore, smearing everybody. That's all they talk about. So the fact is that you're actually up against the entire media machine to even talk about African issues. Yet you want us to focus on something that is already getting the attention of pretty much every media outlet on the internet, every independent outlet. Does that make any sense? It makes no sense. You're talking about a news story that everybody's talking about versus issues where nobody's talking about it. And you're saying that by focusing on one, it's going to help. Come on. Come on, guys. Let's be realistic here. Come on. Come on. So there are nasty responses. Of course, there'll be nasty responses. Of course, there'll be nasty responses because people don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear the truth. This has nothing to do with empathy. This has everything to do with priorities. And the fact that everybody should have a self-preservation chip in them as a human being. Africans, for some reason, and Black folks haven't had the same kind of self-reverence and self-focus that other communities have had, which is strange. Which is very strange. It's not normal. This stuff is not normal. Everybody that's in the chats, let me know who you are in the chat on YouTube. If you're on YouTube and listening in, let me know who you are. Type it in the chat. If you're new to my stream, I want to know who you are. Type it in the chat if you're new to my stream. Chris H, I want to know if Chris H is even, are you African? Because the way that you're talking, I don't, by that logic, Fidel Castro and the USSR and China should have left Angola to the US-backed apartheid forces. This is actually a brilliant point to highlight, because I don't know if, I'm assuming Chris H is not African or black. I'm assuming so. When Fidel Castro, okay, and the USSR and China went in to support Angola, you've got a community and an army that is in active conflict with the same force. There is no diffusion involved. There is no confusion involved. Fidel Castro is directly fighting the US military at that time. The other proxy battles that are going on, he's directly fighting the same people. What you're telling us to do is to leave what we're doing. Like, we don't forget about it, because we don't even have the resources to fight our own battles. We don't even have so we're not even on the board to start out with. You're saying leave that. How about you come over here while you are under assault? Do you know that as every single moment that we are in right now, we are actually under active assault in Africa constantly? Leave that, by the way, because yes, you don't even have your resources. You don't have. When Fidel Castro and the USSR, let me give you an explanation. The United USSR, China, and Cuba were in control of their own governments. They were in control of their governments. They were in control of their societies. We are not in control of our governments, our own money. We're not in control of anything. Does the United States control the finances of Russia? No. Do they control the finances of China? No. They control our finances. So you're trying to tell a continent and countries that do not control their agriculture, do not control their money, do not control their education, do not control their history, do not control their narrative, is giving all their resources to this, that, oh, leave all of that and come and focus on something else. You're comparing it to the USSR and China and Cuba. Come on, man. Come on. You're not African, but of African ancestry. I don't know what that means. As I said, you're talking like somebody who's not an African. So I do not know what of African ancestry means. What is that 1.2% that you did on ancestry.com? I don't know what that means. You might need to explain that to me. What does African ancestry mean? 21andMe, I don't know what that means. Yes, next. Cuba was under constant assault. I know that. But they had, it's like two countries at war. Cuba had control of its country, and it's in conflict with another country. So they were in active conflict as a country. Africa, we don't have control over anything. That's actually what we keep fighting about and complaining about. We don't have control over anything. Chris H, I understand. And I'm not saying, and I'm trying to explain, Chris H, I get it. And that's why I was asking your heritage. I was asking because the way that you're arguing is like, are you African? Because once you're African and you know what's happening in Africa, you'll understand where I'm coming from. I'm not attacking you. I'm saying that once you really understand what I'm talking about, it will make sense that, hey, we don't have the time. We don't have the time. We don't have the time. Hi, Ma, we met last night. Okay, I remember you, yes. I remember you, yes, from the live yesterday. That was a very epic live. You know? But yeah, Oppo the Beat says this. If anything, by helping Congo, you help a lot more people. The resources that they use to create a lot of their tech is from the conflicts in Congo. Yes, but the problem is up with the beat. They're not really helping themselves because they want to continue to exploit Congo. They want to continue to exploit Congo. You know? You know? That's the reason why. Uh-oh. They want to continue to exploit Congo. Sorry, guys, there's a gardener outside doing the gardening. That's why you're hearing noise. They want to continue to exploit us. Chris H., when I was asking about your thing, you said that you're from the Africa diaspora. My question was, what's your heritage? You can just, if you're from Africa, you'd be able to directly tell me, this is where my grandfather is from, this is where my father is from, this is the village, or this is the country. If you can't answer that, I don't know. It's a very easy question. It's like, if you say you're from Africa, if you're in the African diaspora, tell me where in Africa you're from. Then we can have a more meaningful conversation about the points you're making. If you have to think about it for so long, I have my doubts. If you have to think about it for so long, I have my doubts. Guys, I hope the noise isn't too bad. I hope the noise isn't too bad. But anyway, look, that is my point about everything. That is the reason why I was saying the things I said. Paul Dean, nobody is talking anything in Nigeria. It's painful. Yeah. Nigeria is having its issues. Well, the thing about Nigeria is that they suppress the Nigerian conversation so much anyway. This is the reality. There is no African conflict in the history of the world that has captured the entire world's attention for this long ever. It's never happened. In spite of the abuses and the craziness that's been going on in Africa. Libya, it is like Libya, what is happening in Libya doesn't exist. That's the way the world press is viewing it. It's like the Libya situation isn't even happening. We know as Africans the absolute disaster zone Libya is now. We know that. But as far as the West is concerned and the media is concerned, it's like it's not happening. Now, my question would be, why are people not focusing on the Libya thing when America and France and the UK directly caused that? They actually caused it. But you've got nothing to say about that. You could argue that the same forces are involved in what's happening in the Middle East. So that argument would still apply. The Libya thing has been happening ever since 2011. They've been in disarray since 2011. You know? This conflict with the Israel and Palestine started in late 2023. This one has been since 2011. But again, it is about the priorities. It's like, so for me, when I say what I'm saying, it's like, look, I am not diminishing anybody's. Somebody said, oh, we shouldn't be doing oppression Olympics. This is not talking about whose oppression is worse than whose. It is definitely not oppression Olympics, because that is just another diversionary tactic from the point I'm making. This is about the fact that, hey, this situation is serious over there. You guys focus on that. We've got to focus on what's happening with us. That's all my point is. We've got to focus on what's happening with us. Chris H., okay. I appreciate that you now understand. Put Chris H's comments up here. I appreciate that you now understand what I'm talking about. Let's put Tando Mbuza's comments in here. Donald Trump is trying to stop South Africa from pursuing the support of Palestine. They are spreading false news about South Africa to silence them. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other conversation that, you know, I haven't even really talked about too much about the South Africa thing. I mean, that's a whole other show in itself. I don't even think I can even talk about that now. That's a whole other show in itself. I don't think I can even talk about that now. It's unbelievable, folks. But as I said, I don't understand how anything I'm saying is confusing to anybody. I can't see how anybody can disagree with what I'm saying if you really just are as objective and really look at this from the perspective I'm talking about. I don't know how you can disagree with me. Everybody who's listening in on YouTube, please drop a comment so I know that you're here. Tell me where you're from, where you connect to, how you found the platform. Let me see now some more comments. Charles H., I'm new here. My name is Charles, working to help do something that will help our Black community all over the world. Love to speak with you directly and explain what I mean. I'm in California, USA. Okay. Gabrielle, we cannot intervene with Gaza because the people that want this land will never give up. Shame, humanity, or any human behavior has made any impact. True. Mac Plenty, they can manipulate the narrative easier in Africa. True. Maggie Getfield, the West is responsible for the chaos existing in Libya, and just like colonialism, they will not acknowledge or take responsibility for the damage and harm they have caused. It's their same old, same old, same old. That's my thing. And I think, look, you can't expect them to, because, you know, they've shown you what they are for so long. You can't expect them to, which is why it's our responsibility to do what we've got to do. Timothy George, Trinidad, I've been following for a week. Good to have you. Watching and waiting. Julius Uganda, been following for a while, currently in the USA. Black Rauk Process has become a member. Thank you, Black Rauk Process has become a member. Let's give him a round of applause. Black Rauk Process has become a member. Thank you for joining the YouTube membership. Now you can watch the archive YouTube lives, because my lives usually go in the archive on YouTube. Thank you for supporting the YouTube platform. Similarly, for everybody who is on the Substack, thanks to all the members on Substack who've become paid members, you have really propelled us to a bestseller on Substack. We are now in the bestsellers list on Substack of publications, and also in the top 100 in culture on Substack, thanks to your support as paid subscribers. Everybody who's on Substack, consider becoming a paid subscriber. There's only $8 a month, $7.99. Or you can get an annual, or you can become a founding member. It really helps me to continue to provide the content that you've been getting and to do these podcasts and so on and so forth. So definitely consider doing that. If you're on the YouTube, make sure that you are signed up to my newsletter, www.alkebulan.media. I'm going to put it in the chat. Make sure that you are signed up to my newsletter, www.alkebulan.media. Make sure you are signed up there as well. Okay? Nani Fano, shall we talk about Amara's struggle in Ethiopia and what we learned from President Abraham? Yeah, I mean, I have to talk about the Ethiopia thing at some point. That is definitely coming up soon in the future. I'll definitely talk about Ethiopia in the future. I've talked about it a little bit before, but I'll definitely talk about it in the future. Oppo the Beat, I have a question for you, Merck. For our Black Americans, African Americans who are born and handle with US issues, do you think they should be focused mostly on their issues, such as high rates of youth dropping out from elementary, high school, or international media promoting toxic behaviors and intentionally ruining Black family dynamics? Or should they also tune into African issues and support us in our efforts? I generally want to hear you explore these concepts and draw any parallels. I believe that Black Americans should focus on their own issues. And if they feel the analogous connection between Africa, then that is when they should support African issues too, because we are connected by our Blackness and our heritage. But I always believe that, look, if you have a clear and present issue pressing your community, you shouldn't be diluting your focus to focus on other people if you're not focusing on yourselves first. So for Black Americans, yes, you should focus on your problems first. And then if you can see the connection between what is going on in Africa and what you're dealing with, then of course. So for example, the Captain Traore situation and all those things, I 100% believe that it is worth you guys looking at that, because Thank you, TikTok. Thank you very much for that. It is worth you looking at that because that stuff is directly connected to you because you are being used to validate what is going on in Africa, a continent from which you were stolen from. So if you've got people like Michael Langley coming out, who's a Black American general, being used to accuse Captain Traore, then it is definitely the kinds of things that Black Americans should speak up about because, like, listen, we are not down with that. Do you see what I'm saying? Miss Supernova, speaking for myself, I joined the channel because I know there is a lot going on with Black foreigners. I want to hear it directly from those who are experiencing it. Thank you very much. You know me, Merck, living in the Netherlands, born in Curaçao from G. Paul Dean, what's the update in Ivory Coast? Ivory Coast update is that it was a fake coup. That's the update. It never happened. So everybody who thought there was a coup in Ivory Coast, it wasn't true. That's the update. The update in Ivory Coast is that there was a fake coup. That never happened. So, you know, I mean, look, I think that people want the Ivory Coast president out. So that's the reason why that stuff is happening, but it wasn't real. But yeah, guys, let me bring some folks in here. Let me bring some folks in here. I want to bring some people in on this conversation. So if you want to jump in on this conversation, I'm going to put the link in the YouTube. You need to be on the YouTube on Chrome on a desktop to join the conversation. You need to be on YouTube on Chrome to join the conversation. Make sure that you've signed up to the newsletter, which I've linked in the comments in YouTube. Make sure that you are signed up to the newsletter. I've pinned the comment. Make sure you are signed up to the newsletter on YouTube. You can see the link to the newsletter, my Substack newsletter. Jibril Always Cute says, what's the conversation about? How about you read what's on the screen and also read the title of the live? There is text on the screen and there is also a title of the video you're on. So I do not know why you're asking that question. How about you do that? Everybody, the link to join the chat in YouTube is in the YouTube chat. So click the link. Make sure that you are on Chrome and on a desktop browser, because if you're on a phone and not on Chrome, you're not going to be able to join. Okay? You're not going to be able to join. Okay, so I have Miss Liania here. Miss Liania, I do not see you. I see you there, but I do not see your cam. Because I'm trying not to do the blank screen thing because it's you know, I think it's not very conducive for people listening in. So I do not know if your cam is working or not. Emmanuel Emmy, how are you? Dean Smith from Australia, first time viewer, welcome. Emmanuel Emmy, thank you, boss, for everything you do. God bless. From Nigeria, Edo State, Nigeria. Emmanuel Emmy, thank you so much. Okay, I see Miss Liania now. You might need to adjust your cam a little bit. I see you a little bit. I see the top of, there we go. It's getting a bit better now. I see you. Just adjust it a little. I'll give you a 60 seconds to just adjust, and then I'll bring you right in. All right, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Good morning. Good evening, I should say. Good evening. How are you? Let's see if I can hear you. Say something. Let me see if I can hear you. Say something. Okay, hold on. Let me get my mic. Hold on. Hold on. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay, say something now. Nothing. Okay, give me a second. Hold on. Hold on. All right. Built in. All right. Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me. Hold on. Okay. Oh, ask for unmute. You're muted. You're muted. Unmute yourself. Did you unmute? Now speak. Yeah, so it says its unmute request has been sent. You should, yeah, so I don't know what is going on. I don't know what is going on. You should be, come back in, try exiting and coming back in and see if that works. Because I can see you. It says that your volume is up. I do not know what, no, it says that your mic is off. So it's on your end for sure. Your mic is not on. I can see that your mic is not on. So it's definitely your end. So let me know. I'm going to take you off now and then let me know when you are set. I can see you and let me know when you're set. Okay. All right. Yeah, guys. So, I don't think I don't think what I'm saying is insane. I don't think what I'm saying is crazy. And I'm glad that there are a lot of people who, at least in the chat, seem to understand where I'm coming from. You said there was suppression going on in Nigeria. Can you expand more on that? I'm a Nigerian American looking to learn more at the political and economic lines. Yeah, I mean, it's hard. Look, it's not even for, I don't even need to go too deep into it. How much do you hear about these news stories? It's like, these are big things for Africa and you have to come to us to get the news, Why is it that these mainstream networks do not report on any of these major events? But whenever they do report on things, it's always strategically part of the narrative that they spin. It's the stuff that's going on in Nigeria. I'm like, okay, look, why is there not constant coverage of the northern parts of Nigeria and the struggles that are going on there? Why don't we know? Why is it that we just have to go by hearsay to find out what is happening? Why do we have to go by hearsay? These are the questions that I would be asking. Why do we have to go by hearsay to talk about these issues? Fine. These are the real conversations that I'm asking. Why do we always have to go by hearsay? So I don't even need to investigate that there is suppression going on. It's obvious that there is suppression. It's obvious that there is suppression. It's obvious that there is suppression going on. Nani Fano, thank you. So I think it's a crazy situation. And look, by the way, guys, like I said, if you're on YouTube, I want to hear from you. Get on Chrome and click the link, because I'm going to be going off this show soon. I've only got 20 more minutes of the show. 20 more minutes of the show, guys. So if you want to get involved in this, you need to get on now. Hello, Vedette Wilkins. I've spoken to several of my friends in the US and most know nothing about what is happening in the Sahel. They don't even know who General Michael Langley is. There is no doubt suppression is happening. Miss Supernova, please mention some of the resources so we can gain access and research for ourselves to contribute to the conversation. Are you subscribed to my newsletter? Are you on the paid tier? Are you in the premium tier of the newsletter? There is an archive full of over 200 articles that I've written in my archive on my newsletter. And I've been telling people to subscribe to that because, yes, I talk about a lot of these things and you will learn a lot about African history, current affairs, politics, the future, all of those things. So you should be on subscribe to my newsletter, join the paid tier, get involved in that, and you will get everything you need to get. $8 a month. That's it. $7.99, bagel and a coffee. www.alkabelan.media. And if you don't believe me, just ask the people who are on my newsletter the quality that I provide. If you don't believe me, ask the people on my, let me ask, I'm going to even ask the folks. Substack crew, how do you feel about what I provide in my newsletter? Those who are actually on the paid tier, by the way. What do you think? Is there not value? Have you actually managed to get through all the material in the archives? Have you managed to get through all the material in the archives? Yes, Miss Supernova, you're welcome. You're very welcome. Sign up, join the paid tier. Like I said, it's very cheap monthly. Sign up to it and start reading my archives. It's a beautiful website. www.alkebulan.com. It's a beautiful website. Bran Flores is letting you know. Vedette Wilkins is letting you know. There's value. I tell everybody, if you want to know about Africa, it's the #1 African publication on Substack. Go over there because it's not just news, it's conversations like this. We have the podcast, we have the conversations. I do the analyses, I give you history, I give you the present, politics, and I do it properly. And it's twice a month for the paid people. Get 2 articles, premium articles a month twice. And then weekly, I do the stuff that's free. The past lives on Substack, yes. So the Substack lives, I haven't been posting those because of, I wanted to edit them a little bit. I do have a long list of lives on Substack that I'll post. I have like 10 lives that I'll post on Substack soon. I just wanted to clean them up before I put them out there. I wanted to clean them up before I put them out there. I do have a long list of lives. A long list of lives. So I wanted to clean them up before I put them out there. A long list of lives, guys. So don't worry, Brand Flores, you're in the 300 as well. You'll be taken care of. You'll be taken care of. So I take it that nobody wants to get brave and jump on this live show. I've put the link. Nobody wants to jump on the live show. Okay. Okay. I wanted to have the conversation, but nobody wants to jump on the live. Phoenix, other resources. It's a bit challenging because there are not many resources that I would say, you know what, there are some. I'll have to look into that for you because Nigeria-specific resources, you'd have to go to actual Nigerian platforms that are in Nigeria. Lisa G, money well spent, thank you. Miss Liana, it's well worth it, but I haven't gotten through a 10th. Yes, there's a lot of material. Maggie Getfield, excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Happy customers. Thank you. I appreciate it. I tell people, like, listen, it's a lot of work that I put into that newsletter. To do those 2 articles a month is not easy. When you see the depth involved, it's not easy. Oppo the Beat, how are you?
Hello. Oh man, I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. Why? Are you scared?
Good. I'm good. I'm closing the Substack now because I'm listening to that at the same time. Okay.
All right, welcome. Miss Liania, is your audio good now? No? All right, so we now know, Miss Liania, that it's definitely on your end because Oppo the Beat is in here, so we know it's on your end. So what you need to do is that try a headset. If you have a headset, try something because it's definitely on your end. Oppo the Beat, how are you? What are your thoughts?
Good. Okay, cool. So my thoughts, one, this is extremely exciting just to even get a chance to speak with you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, I would say exciting, especially. Oh, let me take this out too. I would say exciting, especially because so I'm Ghanaian American. I'm Ghanaian like my parents, but I'm born in North Jersey.
Okay.
And I already do like a lot of basically work to kind of do as much community.
Is it possible for you to turn so that the light is not behind your head, so the light faces you?
Yeah.
There you
Like
go.
this.
There you go. Yes. All right. All right.
Yeah, I mean, um, so I would say like definitely. I think especially so primarily like I'm a writer and I'm an artist, right? But I'm definitely very much about my communal efforts. And one thing I've recognized like the hardest part is like communication, especially when it comes to like especially okay. So my biggest time when this came up was during the George Floyd times when I really
Hmm.
saw how wow, the world can see that everything is on fire, but because people don't know how to it's almost like people start fighting over definitions or particulars or technicalities, and then that creates division, which then leads into the whole divide and conquer process. You know what I'm saying? So even going back to the whole initial conversation about like, oh, should people be caring about Gaza if they're African, right? It's almost like I think my biggest thought is like, although I stand with you and I really do resonate with your idea of like that doesn't make sense. People should have priorities. And that's even what I started recognizing too. Like I started doing a lot more work in Newark, New Jersey before I even try to do work in Africa because it's like I don't live there.
Hmm.
Literally, I do not live there. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, the work that I can do is making these communications, making these connections, and showing respect where it's due. You know what I'm saying? I have
Right.
friends in my production company who is like, you know, even when the world is going down, they're thinking like, oh, where do we go? And, you know, Phoenix, who you were talking to, she's part of the team as well. You know, dope glass blower artist, all that.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like, you know, she's Nigerian, I'm Ghanaian, and like him being like fourth generation born in like this area of Jersey, it's like, you know, they do have the concerns of like, oh, where are we to go? You know what I'm saying? And being born and raised here, I do feel like I think guess that's my own personal responsibility to be able to like help people understand one another because like although people should be focused on their own places, at the end of the day, it's like a lot of the it's like a lot of us Africans are drawn and pulled out of context because of many different reasons. So even people who are in America, it's like yes, they were brought here, but it's like they were never not never supposed to be here, but never supposed to be here. You know, so it's like it's up to. I'm not even gonna. I don't know your background per se, but that's why I even mentioned like I really do feel very strongly when it comes to like first generation Africans who is like a lot of us were brought with the idea that oh you were going to get this education and go support Ghana and then when they turn 24, 25, that goes out the window. That's who
Right.
I feel is most complicit because the amount of capital and resource and education and information that is there is not
Well,
being
you know
utilized for
what?
that.
Well, thanks. I agree with everything that you're saying. I think this is the
Mhm,
problem. When you are sending your children to get educated, or rather indoctrinated, by the
mhm,
same system that oppresses their ancestors, oppresses their countries, and keeps their countries where they are, you can't be surprised that the machine is designed to train people to be better parts of the machine. So when you go to these schools or you go to these institutions to get trained, you're born in America, so you go to these schools and whatever. The idea is that, of course, by the time you're grown up, it's trained you not. Do you know how crazy it would be for American or British schools and educational systems to train Africans to want to bring them down? It doesn't make
mhm,
any sense. You're not going to train them to go back to Africa and utilize what you've told them to free Africa. It doesn't make any sense. Now,
mhm,
a lot of the African people or freedom fighters who were educated in the West that did do that, it's because of a light bulb moment that came into their minds where they were like, oh, hang on a second. Now that I've been educated here, I can actually now see what they're doing to my country. So then they go back, and then before long, they're unalive, they're assassinated, whatever happens to them. But the
mhm,
point I'm making with this is that it is not surprising that children who are of African descent, who are brought up in the Western educational system, get that beaten out of them, that they grow up into a position where prioritizing African issues is no longer a priority. They're prioritizing capitalism, prioritizing success, prioritizing revenue, prioritizing doing better for the company they work for, prioritizing getting a promotion, prioritizing their own families. And that's what you're trained for. You're not trained to support Africa. So for me,
mhm,
it's like, even when I say what I said about this Gaza thing, it is really speaking to the heart of the issue is that
mhm.
you are shamed as an African or a Black person if you prioritize yourselves.
And I also, just to touch base, because, not to hop into your comments, but I'm looking at the comments here, and someone says, "I'm Black from America. You don't know nothing about our culture, so stop talking." Right. This is also where, because I want to assist you and also assist the person commenting in what this overall live is about. Right. So, just background: born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. I'm a jazz trombonist. That's what I learned. Trombone and stuff like that. I went to
Mm-hmm.
Howard University. Then from there, for those who don't know, people be like, "Oh, HU." I went to Howard University, and then during COVID, like, that's when I withdrew, because I'm a filmmaker, and mind you, also, especially through my whole experience growing up in Newark, New Jersey, like, I felt like, oh, I wasn't Black enough. So then when I only applied to HBCUs, because I was like, oh, I don't know, just for me to really just find out, bro, Newark is full of Black people, but they're all just very. I mean, I've already knew that was full of Black people, but all the Black people there are very Caribbean, Jamaican, Haitian. It's all immigrants, right? So when I go there, I started learning how, wow, Black people from all 50 states are different. All, like, you have the way people for acting in Atlanta is different from how people act in New Jersey, is different from how Black people act in LA, different from how Black people act everywhere, right? That is just me. Not This is me doing the comment section the favor of giving them my Blackness, which is me giving grace of being like, yo, I'm choosing to give you
Well,
that knowledge, right? The reason why I say that's important, though, is because I think that, like, there's a lot of divisiveness when people feel like that. It's a lot of, like, pain that it comes from, and they want to defend because they feel like they're being attacked, right? When it's like, we are not here attacking you. And I think that also, to you, I will say that, like, I know you're passionate about it, but I think that's where some people just take the passion for an attack, or they're offended, when it's like, no, especially being an African person, there's reason why you're this passionate about it. But at the same time, that's why I say the communication is so important, and how we bridge those gaps, especially being someone like the first generation situation you're talking about. I have 5 siblings, well, 4 siblings. I'm the
wait, hold
fourth.
on, hold on. We're moving all over the place a bit now, so I'm
Yeah.
actually losing track a little bit. It's like,
Mm-hmm,
to the original point, with what this, comments and everything. Look,
mm-hmm,
obviously, there is a group of people that cannot be helped, which is like this cool Pips individual who may not even be in the chat anymore, might have just come here to talk nonsense. But there are some people that can't be helped. So I don't really even bother engaging with that conversation. So if somebody
mm-hmm.
comes to my platform and says, you don't know, even the English is off. He says, know nothing about our culture, so stop. When somebody who's from Black America comes and tells me something like that, who's listened to anything that I've said, to engage with them in a conversation is actually a waste of time and energy. Like, there's no point. Let them do them and see how far it takes them. You see what I'm saying? That's my feeling on it. Good luck with that, and let's see how far you get with that mentality. Because it's worked out so great for you to this point, right? Like, it's been
Mm-hmm.
very successful to this point. Let us see how far you get with that. Now, on the other side of things, the reality still remains that as a Black person who has ancestry in Africa, you are not the same as Black Americans. You're not. You cannot speak for them because you're not the same as them. There is a difference between somebody who they know their parents came from Ghana or Nigeria or so forth, even if you were born in America, and somebody is a direct descendant of slaves. It's a very, very different existence. It's a very different perspective. You cannot speak for them. Like, there is no, all you can do is respect their
Yeah, that's.
experience. No, hold
Mm-hmm.
on. You respect their experience and you talk to them person to person. That, listen, I know that I cannot see through your eyes, which is how I talk to Black America. I don't know what that could ever be like. There is no way of me understanding
I
what it's like to, yeah.
Mhm. I personally don't know what it's like to live in Ghana. Like, I've never been in my life.
No, 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 no. See,
Or
that's what I'm saying. No,
I just,
you're
yeah, come.
misunderstanding. When you
Mhm,
say, the point I'm making is, you know your parents, right? You know who your parents are. You
mhm,
know your parents are from Ghana.
mhm,
If you want to go to Ghana, you can. You know where you're from, even if you never go there, even if you never set foot in that country. That is a different state of being. There is no comparison between that state of being and somebody who has no idea where the hell their ancestors came from. They know it's from the continent. They do not know what their tribe is. They don't know what their language would be. If they
mhm,
wanted to go back, where am I going? Where am I going to? They have nothing. So you can't, so again, I have to be honest when I respond that even though I think the guy in the comments is ridiculous and an idiot, personally, respectfully
Mhm.
so, I still have to be honest enough to say that, look, still, regardless of the fact that you grew up in America, regardless of the fact that you don't really know Ghana, you know America, that's all you know, that's
Mhm.
fine.
I speak the language, but
You still
Mhm.
cannot equate your experience directly with the Black American who doesn't know.
Yeah,
That,
I
that
guess.
that's my thing. So so
Mhm.
I- so I- so again, what I'm saying is that when we even have these conversations, as far as what to speak up for, I think you said it. I think you're the one who even said it in the
Yeah, yeah.
Substack. Where should the Black American prioritize his problems in America over African issues? And I said yes. I
Mhm.
said, yeah. I've got to be. I can't be disingenuous and tell the Black American to forget his problems in America and come and talk about African issues as a priority over what they're going through. I just said that you've got a Black American person needs to also be able to stand back and say, okay, look, if I'm fighting what I'm fighting in America and I can see any correlation between what I'm dealing with and other people with my skin in Africa, and how what is going on there could be affecting how I'm being treated here, that is the moment when I would then suggest that, yes, this is when we need to stick together and actually start fighting for the same causes, which is the reason why so many of them have been supporting, oh, have been supporting, what's going on here, have been supporting the Sahel situation and Captain Traore. They support it because they can see the parallel. It's like, oh, this guy is like one of our guys. This guy is like the guys that we've had that have been assassinated, that have been taken out. We can really see because he looks like us. This person is talking the same. There is a connection there, which is very different when we're talking about the Middle East. Because as people keep bringing up, and we've talked about this a lot on the platform, the Middle East do not have a history of outwardly fighting for Black Africans. Like, when have we seen that? Doesn't even happen. Like, it's not a thing. When? Like, we've been fighting for last century, having wars and conflicts all through Africa. The people who've even really supported us, do you want to be surprised? Russia. Russia.
Mhm. Mhm.
Those are the guys, if you want to really talk about it, who's been the people who they've really come into Africa and when we've had problems, helped us, supported us, trained troops, helped people, logistics, resources. It's really Russia. So when I look at the Middle East, I'm like, yes, look, we can empathize with what is happening, which is what we are doing. I empathize with you. But for you to tell me that I'm complicit because I'm not talking about you is where I had an issue with that post I saw. I said, no, 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 I'm not complicit. It's simply a case of I need to prioritize. Sorry, Miss Liania.
Yeah.
Let me bring her in. Sorry, let me bring her in.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh man, finally. Good
Uh-oh.
question. I wish we. Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
It's
Ah,
like really slowed down
yeah.
or low.
Oh.
It
Hello.
sounds like
Exactly.
Can you
yes.
hear me?
Oh my goodness. Okay, let me mute again. Miss Liania,
W-
your computer is something is up with your system.
I
Something
I
is
had
up with your system. All right, let me take that down. There's something going on. Okay, go on.
so and I agree and resonate with what everything you're saying too. I okay. I guess one I'll say, and this is why I feel very passionate about like the first generation African perspective, because it's like I think one thing we go through is like a lot of people trying to tell us what we are supposed to be experiencing. And that is kind of an interesting part where it's like, especially on my end, my biggest thing is the fact that I'm like, I've lived this experience and then I've lived this experience at home, but I don't really. I can only speak on mine, so that's why even on me, I serve as an artist. You know, what I'm saying my art speaks whatever, right? But then I would ask you, right? So, did you feel more offended by the black person who said, "Oh, you don't know anything about American culture, stop talking," or did you feel more offended by the white person who said you're complicit with the stuff like that and he got upset at you?
Oh no, I'm more offended by the Black person than I
Mhm.
don't care about what these guys. I don't. whatever you say, that's your business. I don't really care.
Mhm.
It's more annoying when Black Americans say that to me. That's
Mhm.
actually, I actually care about that.
Do you feel that as an issue that is worth talking about, like, or making like
Yes,
a?
no, that's a separate
Mhm.
conversation. But
Okay, yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that is a, for me, that is something that, yes, that annoys me.
yeah.
The other
Because
stuff, I don't really care. I'm like, look, that's your whatever you guys want to feel. That's your business. I don't. You're not going to blackmail me into talking about what you want me to talk about. No. But when a Black American says this sort of stuff, it annoys me because I'm like, guys, we are actually for real involved in the same thing.
Mhm.
We are actually for real involved in the same thing. So this is something that we definitely have to pay attention to as a community. So for example, I think it is more damaging for us fracturing the unity that we're trying to build between the two communities than somebody outside the community saying that, why aren't you talking about us? Why aren't you
Mhm.
talking about it?
Mhm.
Who
Mhm.
cares about? I'm like, okay, look, you can feel the way you want to feel. You're not going to guilt trip me. But if Black Americans are saying that, oh, we don't want to be part of you, we're not African, we're not this, that is more problematic. It's
Mhm.
far more problematic because that is how you end up with a Michael Langley. You end up with people like that because if Black America as a group had this solidarity with Africa, you couldn't get a Michael Langley to do what he's doing.
Mhm.
To actually get up on a mic and on camera to say what he said. You couldn't get an Obama to get on camera and to say the things he was saying about Gaddafi. You couldn't, because he would know that I will be destroyed by my own community if I do that. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
The reason why he can do that is he knows that Black Americans don't have that kind of connection with Africa. So I can come and attack an African and it's not going to mess up my image in my community. So therefore, it's directly more impactful if we don't have solidarity, because I believe that it's the same thing both ways. It's the same reason why an African immigrant can go to America and actually operate for white supremacy and starts disrespecting Black Americans in America as an immigrant. It's the same thing, because once you fracture this connection that we need to have, both sides can be used against the other side, which is why it matters more to me to have these conversations. You see? So I don't know if that makes sense to you. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Chris H says this FBA movement has to be reached out to. I don't really think so anymore. I think the people within FBA that understand the logic of what I'm talking about understand the logic. And the people who are in the FBA that don't get it, they'll get it if they ever get it. If they don't, I don't think it's something that you need to waste. Because, look, there are intelligent people who, yes, I can now.
Finally, am I
Yes,
am
you're
I
okay now.
lagging? Am I
No,
lagging?
no,
Yeah,
you're
Okay,
you're
okay
good.
now.
okay.
What did
Um,
you change something?
well, I did a few things. I had to restart Chrome, then I took out my headphones, and so I'm direct on the mic. And
Okay.
yeah. So when I started trying to come on, you were talking about the Congo, and that the crisis in the Congo was the cornerstone of my master's. Uh, 12, 13, 14, 13 years ago. So I had to
Okay.
go back actually to my terminal project and just kind of refresh my mind in terms of the dates. And so for me, the parallel that you make to the Israel Gaza conflict and, um, you know, the Congo and even the South Sudan thing, all of that for me even came up with this recent um, um, refugee status of the 50 or some odd Afrikaners from South Africa. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so basically I just feel like, to your point when you were talking about, um I think basically because those posts, like the post that you shared where he says basically if you're silent on it you're complicit, there's no way to conflate that to us, to our situation, I don't think, because um they don't consider our conflicts, they don't consider our issues as worthy of the news report, as you were saying, and so for me I feel like they're like not even apples and oranges, more like fruit and vegetables. You understand what I mean? Do you understand
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes. Look, I think, let's be honest. The only reason why I'm even talking about this topic is for our benefit. I don't really care what these guys think, to be honest. Like this,
Okay.
I'm talking about this more for as a teaching moment to us that guys, do not get
Yes.
blackmailed into this thing. That's really why I'm talking. I'm not talking
Right.
about it because I really want them to see what I'm doing differently. It's more that, guys, this is the kind of tactics that deviate you from what you need to be focused on.
Okay.
This is the way that guys will manipulate you into forgetting what you really need to be talking about. That's
Right.
really where I'm coming from with this, is that
Okay.
I don't care what, whatever. The guy
Got
even
it.
blocked me. He blocked me because what I said to him, he couldn't handle it.
Okay.
I replied to him and the guy blocks me. And I'm like, how are you going to block me as a writer on Substack? Block me?
Mm.
Like,
Mm.
what is going on? Because
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't handle, first of all, he insulted me. Then I went back at him and I said, you see, this is your arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
This is your arrogance because you can't bully me into seeing it your way. And what
Right.
I basically told you is that you've highlighted what the problem is, because you've talked about how this stuff is all over the news. Why is the stuff in Africa not all over the news?
Right. Yeah.
Like you've actually highlighted, this is what I'm talking about. So at the end of the day, you've got a conflict that has been going on for 70, 80, 100 years and has never made the news in the way that this has made the news because we're black. Let's
Yeah.
just call it spade a spade. It's like, this is not rocket science. It's that
Right.
people are used to seeing us suffering. That's the reason why it's not a priority. So that being the case, you have to understand my point of view that as an African, as a black person, when I have any second to speak, I'm going to focus on us. How is that a bad thing? You're angry with me for that?
Right.
How can you be? I'm like, listen, I'm not saying that what you're dealing with is not bad. Now, that for me is the conversation that we are now having, because you see the way that I talk about these things, which is actually the reason why I feel like my audience is what it is and it has grown to this, is that I'm not militant. I don't preach attacking anybody. I
Right.
don't preach fighting anybody. I don't preach protesting or begging
Just a
anybody
truth
for
teller.
anything.
Just a truth teller. Yeah.
Just tell the truth, and also
Yeah.
self-sufficiency. What can we do for ourselves? That's it. For that reason, people get upset. And I'm like, guys, there are other platforms you can go to that you can fight them because they're ready to fight you. They want to debate. When I hear about debate for what? When you debate somebody, it means that you want them to agree with you or you want to explain something to them. I'm not debating anybody. For what? I don't care that you don't get it. Like, it's not an issue for me. I'm like, okay, you don't understand. Okay, fine. You don't agree with me. Okay, fine. I'm not debating you. My focus is that, listen, I've gotten to an age in my life that I panicked. I was like, oh my God, I'm an old man now and I have no home. I have no home. Like, I have a country that is in disarray. I have a continent that's in disarray. You start panicking. When you're a kid, you don't think about these things because your parents are supposed to deal with that. You get to a particular age and you say, oh my God, what kind of future would I give to my children? What kind of future would I give to the next generation? Nothing. There's nothing to give them because you don't have control over anything. That is when you start worrying.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's a responsibility thing. And that is the reason why I feel so. I was, when I was talking about the 300 initiative, and I was talking about this yesterday or 2 days ago, and I said, I felt embarrassed for the 1,000 people that applied that didn't walk through the door. And I said, I feel embarrassed about them because for you to have made the application means that you heard my message and you made the decision to apply because you heard what I said. For you then not to walk through the door and to ignore the messages that I sent you to make that move means that you are actually, and this is my opinion, people may say it's too harsh, you're more harmful to what we're trying to do than the people who accepted they couldn't afford or be able to apply in the first place.
That's me. Like, that's me. And not the afford part, but just I can't afford the focus. I can't afford the focus.
Whatever the reasons are,
Like you said,
whatever
from the
yeah,
beginning, don't apply unless you can take it seriously. And so
yes,
because I know that right now, with everything that I have going on personally, I wasn't able to apply. That doesn't mean that I don't want to eventually join the 300,
exactly.
and if not next quarter, maybe by the fall quarter, I'll be ready to
Yeah, no, I
come
mean,
on.
and again, and that is the reason why why I said what I said, because I said I am not making a judgment on anybody on that,
Yeah.
because I said no.
Yeah.
As you've seen, my content has kept coming out. It's still
Yes.
free. Most of it is still free. People can
Yes.
still watch the video. It's all free, most of
Yes.
it. So I'm
Yes.
like, nothing is changing. My point is that people who want to help me continue this work and actually make better products, make better things, this is for you. But do not come in here and mess me around. Don't come in here and play games. So the fact, those people who did that, like I said, you will never be allowed to apply in the future ever again. And I no longer take you seriously.
Mm-hmm.
I even know who some of them are from my community. I don't
Mm-hmm.
take you seriously anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because people say, oh, yes, it's my own audience, and I don't take you seriously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't take you seriously, because I'm like, no, listen, once you make that kind of move, it means that no, you lack the conviction necessary for us to do what we need to do as a community. People who made the decision like you did, it's like, I'm not ready now. I respect that completely.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're never ready, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, that is what I mean, because it's that kind of attitude that makes it easy for us to be manipulated and to be maligned. Because you look at the other communities that we're dealing with, and they don't have to struggle to get the support for their movements or their situations or their initiatives. They don't have to struggle for that. In fact, the woman who called that kid, whatever she called that kid in the playground, has raised $1 million just
Right.
for being racist.
But have you heard the story of the young sister who's in tech that has basically shut that mess down and basically made it such that the platform is not able to distribute that money, although it was raised. There's a young sister who is in tech, and she was able to figure out in the coding who the actual not the platform, but the
Donate the
payment
donors
processor, the
or the
payment
payments. Okay.
yeah, the payment processor. And so she has started a whole campaign about, yeah, it may have been raised, but because it is in violation of, various laws that I can't quote, the money should not legally be dispersed to her.
So
And as
what
far
G
as
is saying in the comments is that she got the money.
she did,
Yeah, that's what G is saying in the comments. So I don't know. I have to look up at that. Napoleon Ross is asking what the 300 is. Napoleon Ross, I'm actually wary about this, because whenever I talk about this in my lives, people ask me what it is. Do you know that every live I've done, when somebody asks me what it is and I tell them, they also do the same thing? They do the exact same thing. I tell them, they apply, and then they disappear. They do the exact same thing. So for me, it's like, it's almost a way, I almost feel like quarter one is already underway. The project is already being produced, and quarter two is going to happen, the meeting. And when I go into Q2, it's not going to be free applications anymore. Like from Q2 going forward, you actually make the contribution to get in.
okay.
That's what's going to happen from Q2. There is no application where you just apply and then you can decide. No. From Q2, you make the contribution to move forward. Because if I'm going to do all this work to actually produce the material and be accountable, I'm not, because for me, it's like, it's so much energy and time that it's like, nah, it's not worth it. No.
Mr. Merck, may I just comment real quick too? I guess I really appreciate like the demeanor that you carry within your own space, especially because, like I said, I run an artist-centered production company, so it's like I kind of have to do similarly within my own spaces, because at a certain point in time, when you're trying to do stuff, especially for the community, people will try to mess up what you have going on. I think
Yeah.
that like, even I think I saw one comment, it was saying I'm looking to join forces, I can't do it on my own, and it's like I think it's just important to acknowledge, like, especially across the diaspora, we are all going through different, although similar, different and unique perspectives. So like, just people remembering that, like, what you can do in your capacity is okay, even if you personally feel offended. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I saw the 300 stuff and I wanted to apply, but I actually did end up not even applying because I already knew, because I was doing something on my own, I didn't personally feel like I had the capacity to support in that ways. But of course, still subscribing, okay, still making sure that I'm getting my money up so I can support these things financially, or even just sharing the lives, to my different groups and
Oh no,
communities.
no. Yeah, but you see, what you're saying is my point. You're
Mhm,
actually you're reiterating my point.
mhm,
My problem isn't people not joining. That's not my
yeah.
issue. My issue is the people that listened to my message, heard what I said, applied, and then messed me around.
Mm,
I have no issue with anybody I expected that. That's the reason why I said I only want 300 people. I have
mhm.
a million. Do you know how many people I have on my platform? A million.
Congratulations.
Out of a million people, I'm talking about 300 people out of a million people. And that's not even counting all the people who watch my material who don't subscribe or follow.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
We've
for sure.
gained 70,000, almost 70,000 subscribers on YouTube in the last 5 weeks. 70,000 in the last 5 weeks subscribers on YouTube. So from my point of view, it's like it's not me saying that, oh, I'm annoyed that we don't, because obviously by rights, based on people saying what they're saying, I should have 1,000 people who are in the three. Like I should have 1,000 people who got in and applied and did what they're supposed to do. I wasn't expecting that. My problem is the people who went through those motions and didn't open any emails, didn't respond to any. There's some people who got 15 emails and didn't respond to any of them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Why did you, why? Like, so
So
for
that.
me, it's like,
Mhm,
it's more a case of the conditioning that we have, the mentality that we have, and
mhm,
me appreciating and understanding that this is what we're up against, because the people that did walk through the door are amazing. Like these people they show up to all the meetings, they support everything, they do, like, it's amazing. The people who are actually, they've made the Crusaders episode 3, that's coming out, happen. They've made the Captain Africa thing a possibility. They've made all the other things that were got True History of Africa, which might win quarter 2. We think is going to win quarter 2. They're the ones who are allowing me to even do these things.
mhm. I was gonna say, so my question is, also, right, like, as I guess, and this is my last question before I head out too. I guess, I know you probably have a lot that you can't talk about or whatever, but what are your intentions with, just building what you have as well, but then also working with other platforms who are also doing similar work? Like, so say, like, I know if it's my to Gwendolyn as well, who's also doing her own ways of crowdfunding and then getting inspiration and dissemination out as well. How do you plan to, like, or if you do plan to, like, I guess, cross collaborate with different people across the diaspora?
All right. Before I do that, let me show people the ad, because people are asking
That's what I
what.
was gonna
Yeah,
say.
so I'm going to show the ad and then I'll answer your question right after.
Yeah.
Have you seen the movie 300? It's based on the ancient myth of 300 Greek Spartan warriors that defeated an army of Persians. This gave me an idea. I don't need an army of thousands. I only need 300 committed individuals. 300 people who believe and are ready to fund the creation of content that educates, inspires, and uplifts us. Each quarter, the 300 will decide what projects to create. Each quarter, they will provide the resources to make it happen. I'll set the base rate at maybe $100 once a quarter when the project is voted on, but any individual can decide to put in more. Together, we'll create a system that cannot be censored, silenced, or suppressed. Are there 300 of you willing to work with me to do what we need to do? If so, there is a link to the 300 form in my profile bio and in the description of this video, depending on where you are watching this. The world will not save Africa, and it never will. We must save ourselves.
There you go. All right. So that's it for everybody who's interested. And again, please, I beg you, please, don't apply. Please. If you're not serious, you don't need to apply. You can enjoy my lives, enjoy my videos, enjoy everything for free. Please don't apply. Please, I beg you. If you're serious, what a community it is, because we're doing real things. Okay. And the projects that we have, that are already in the works. If you join now, basically, you need to make your contribution immediately so that I can put you into Q2. And then when I put you into Q2, you'll get the Telegram group access, so you can join the Telegram for Q2. And then the Q2 meeting is going to be in, I think it's 3 months, so it's in July. And that is when the release of the unveiling release of the project with that one Q1's vote will be revealed, and then we'll have a vote for the Q2 project. There is 2 projects in Q1 now, which is a double up. Oh, you can't hear me?
I can.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, yeah. There is a double up of it because Captain Africa is coming out as well. You don't look African, I look American. Okay.
That's what I was reacting.
Yeah, I don't know
I was
what
like,
that means. But there's a double up. So Captain Africa, because of what's happening with Captain Traore and everything, we decided I'm making a graphic novel series on Instagram for free. So it's a free Instagram graphic novel series, 10 panels. You know how you can swipe carousels on Instagram? It's going to be a comic book series that will be released on Instagram and Substack called Captain Africa, inspired by Captain Traore and the Sahel Alliance. So that has also been added to what the 300 is going to be doing. How often is the contribution? Just once a quarter. So only once a quarter. So over the course of the entire quarter. So let's say the base level is $100 and you can do more. So there's 100, 250, 500, and 1,000. So there's people who are doing 1,000 once a quarter. People are doing 500. People are doing 250 or 100. Those are the four levels. If you're on the 2 top levels, then you're part of the advisory board. We have a separate group, which I talk to about strategy and a deeper conversation about, because I've got some very big things planned for this year, later in the year, that I've been talking to the advisory group about. So you'll find out about that later if we decide to go forward with it. But that's how it works. It's just, and also there's no membership. So this is just your word, basically. There's no membership. It's not attached to your bank account where it's taken out of your account every 3 months or none of that. It's just your integrity that you will show up to the meetings, you will read the emails, you'll be involved in the Telegram, you will make the contributions on time, you will vote. That's all it is, which is why I said the people I have are really fantastic. These people have done everything that they were supposed to do. Everything, you know? And that is why I'm so confident that as this grows, and you start seeing what we produce, it's going to be really amazing. It's going to be really amazing. All right, let me take somebody's voice.
Can I just say something real quick, Mark? Real quick.
Yes, go ahead, please.
So I actually typed the information. I was scrambling trying to get the information for the campaign. It's called Square Up for Justice because Square is actually the payment processor that is supposedly distributing the funds. I don't know who you said.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
I think G is correct, and I think you're both correct. I would.
So the campaign, I included the link where she's telling you what she wants to do, and then I included the link for the action steps for the campaign, which is called Square Up for Justice, but neither of them are active. So I just included her Instagram tag for people to try to find her in terms of keeping that money from being distributed, because I think you said someone in the chat said that she did get it, but I don't think so, but I'm not for sure. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. But I want to just, because while I was trying to get on, I wanted to talk about the Congo, but then by the time I did get on, I wanted to echo what our friend here, Oppo.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, I know we're close to the end of time, but okay. I just want to say that so earlier today I was having a conversation because today is the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder. And at that time, I was living in Ghana, and I was there on an academic program, and a lot of my colleagues in the International Affairs and Diplomacy Department, because they were studying that field, we had an easy connection because there I was, the international student, right? So a lot of them were basically very naive to the African descendants in the America, those of us who are descendants of the American slavery system, they're like totally oblivious to it. So I basically wanted to just co-sign what you were saying to Opo the Boat in terms of it's a very different dynamic. And like some of my closest people in Ghana now were people who were born in Ghana, but then they came to the States to educate, came for education, then went back. And so they probably have a little bit more of an understanding, but at the end of the day, they do not understand what it is to be a descendant of people who have no home other than
Sorry,
just
I'm a
say,
bit. Yeah, could you just boil that down to a small? Like, I'm a bit. So I think I might have lost a little bit of what you're. So what are you saying specifically, just so I can get my head around it a little bit clearer?
well, I think maybe the moment was lost. I think while I was working through the technical issues, then the moment was lost. But I basically wanted to like piggyback on what you guys were talking about when Opo the Boat was talking about
Okay.
his being Ghanaian
Okay.
by heritage,
Okay.
but American by birth, the
Okay.
birthright citizenship. And you're saying that basically, although he is born in America, he knows that he is technically from Ghana,
Right.
whereas
Yeah.
we who are the descendants of the American slavery system are descendants of people who were removed from their home. So there's no home to go back to.
Can I?
No
Yeah.
specific home to go back to. No specific home to go back to.
And I want to be very concise just to that, right? I want to be very clear that like I am not saying that I know that experience
Yeah.
of a fourth generation person, but what I do want to say is that the way that many African people even speak, period, does not register a lot of times towards people who are in those contexts, especially when they're not exposed to certain things. And that's just something that like I directly experienced as well.
What do you
And
mean when you say
okay,
African
so
people?
This
You
is
mean
what I'm trying to do. This is what
mhm,
I'm trying to do. Because again, I do not want to. Because people who come to the live, we will drift so far away from the topic. People will
okay,
be confused,
okay,
and they'll be
okay,
confused. Like, what are we talking about? That's why I was trying
okay.
to rein it in.
Yeah,
I understand
mhm.
what you're talking about, but in the context of the topic for the day,
for today. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
okay.
Yeah.
I
is
got
is
I got
that look, simply put, identity wise, we all have our problems. So whether
Yes.
you're in Black America, you're in Africa, or so forth, as Black and African people, we have a lot of stuff going on that
Yes.
other people do not focus on. So at the end of the day, saying that you are complicit by silence on an issue that does not directly affect us, when our issues is not the people do not prioritize those issues, I think is ridiculous. Because I'm saying that, look, we definitely empathize. We definitely empathize. And I've commented on what's going on there from time to time. But it's the sort of the moral grandstanding that people
Yes.
who are liberals or on the left have when they comment on these things that I really don't like. This whole idea that you get to decide what. So, for example, when you decided Ferguson or George Floyd was the topic, oh, we are lucky now because you said it's okay to talk about like this. It's cool. We can go for that one. And then that lasts a particular window. Then when you say time's up on that, okay, we're done with that now. We're moving on to this. We have to move on. The issues are still there. The problems haven't gone away. The problems are still exist. But
Yeah.
when you allow another community to decide when and how you can talk about your issues, how long you can talk about it for, how you talk about it's a joke. So from my point of view, I was like, look, guys, you're not going to you saying this to me doesn't have any effect, basically. But I'm using this as a teachable moment for us that be careful that you do not get roped into defending yourself on issues like this. Don't do that. More than anything, allow this to galvanize your resolve to focus even more on the topics that we need to focus on in terms of Africa and the diaspora, because nobody else is going to do that. And I think that for me is probably the most important takeaway from this whole thing. And even for me on my platform, I'm really now even more going to aggressively go into the history aspect of things, because I think that is the element that we're lacking the most of. We do not know our history. We do not know where we came from. I'm going to focus even more on that because I believe it's important, you know, because I think it is knowledge of self and your history and your connectivity that gets your foundation to be solid enough to make better decisions when it comes to defending yourselves, when it comes to supporting what we need to support, you know. And I think that for me, it's almost like it's become like a light bulb moment where I'm like, you know what? It's one thing to talk about current affairs, but I think the videos that I've made on history do phenomenally better than anything else I make. Phenomenally, like it's not even close. Just the amount of interest, which has proven to me that, you know what? Not enough people are talking about these things in and this, what I mean, is a positive light. You see, I'm not talking negative history.
Right.
This is how we're suffering in this era. This is how we're enslaved in this era. This is how we're colonized. This is the abuse that they did. And no disrespect to Hidden Colors, no disrespect. But Hidden Colors, that series, yes, it is very important in history. But I think the reason why some people are put off by it is because just on an emotional level, there is only so much negativity a Black soul can take. It's like, how much am I going to watch us being suffering or watch how we're abused and there's only so much you can take. However, if you see a video or you see a material that everything is fantastic, this is what, there's a different feeling you have from it. And I think that is probably the reason why some of my content has done very well, because it's completely positive. And ironically, and I'll leave it with this, and then I'll give you guys final thoughts. That is the reason why I've gotten so much attack on those videos, because they're positive. The amount of comments I've gotten, you're a fool, this, that, abuse and everything.
Yeah.
Because it's positive. It's like, if I was posting how Africa is suffering, those commenters wouldn't even comment, because they're like, okay, great, this is where you're supposed to be.
Right.
When you make these videos of it's about the greatness that Africa achieved, that nobody wants to acknowledge, they get really upset about that, because you're not supposed to have any greatness in your lineage.
Yes.
Because it makes us easier to abuse you. If you're abusing somebody who's descended from the people who invented and created amazing civilization, what do you say to these people?
Right.
What do you really say to? It's like, it changes your supremacy mental, because the cornerstone of white supremacy is that this community are cursed. They do not contribute, and they never contributed anything to civilization. They are beneath you. They are a lower breed of human. That is not compatible with the kind of history that I'm talking about.
With being the cradle. If you're the lowest, but you're the cradle, that's a contradiction.
All right, so let me just take somebody's voice for good. Sorry, just give me a second. Let me take a voice. Amuse Royd, I am taking your voice for good. Don't worry. As I always say, you will continue to be able to see my content. You will continue to be able to enjoy my content. I take your voice in this moment. It is gone.
And
you will continue to be able to enjoy everything. You can hear me. You can.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. So, say what? What?
Whole time I'm like, bro, just stop and listen, because a lot of things, you just say me country and we wouldn't even say me African now, but you don't know because.
No. These are trolls. No. Sorry.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
They're trolls. And the reason why they're trolling, like I said, the people I'm talking about. We don't do. There's something we don't do. What we don't do as a community is go into white spaces, MAGA spaces, white supremacist spaces, or spaces of white nationalism, or any of that sort of stuff, or just even spaces of white people just talking about good MAGA, make America great again, good old days. We don't go into those spaces disguised as them to poke and to try. We
Right.
don't do that.
Right.
We
We
don't
don't.
gain any pleasure from this, doing an avatar on our profile where we look like a white person and pretending to be white, but then saying things to poke. These people love to. That person, for all you know, is a white guy
Right.
who is pretending to be African and
Yep.
saying all of this stuff and sitting there and having a blast doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There is a mental illness in these folks. They're sick. It's a sickness. Because if you don't like a group of people, why do you spend so much time in their business? Why do you spend so much time in their areas? And all my comment sections are filled with these folks. All my comment sections are filled with these comments from these guys. And I'm like, why are you here? And they're very, like I said, the effort they go to, they'll make a profile, make the profile picture a black person, change the name. When they're talking, they will try to disguise their comments as if they're African, as if they're black. What they don't understand is that we know who we are. So we can tell from the first thing you say that you're not what you say you are. We know from the first second. From the second that person was commenting, I already knew. I knew. I just let it ride. I let it go and I let it go. I said, I already know. I know what you are.
That's why I appreciate I would say just like your focus and demeanor, because like especially bro, and this is also why I have the care I have towards like say the Black American community and stuff like that, because especially right now since COVID, there's a lot of young people between the ages like 14 to 18 who just don't understand the like the power of having that kind of focus and blocking out the noise can do for somebody in their success. So I really appreciate, because even right now it's showing that for me too, you know what I'm saying? And this is the last question I was mentioning because someone brought it back up. Definitely, I would love to see more collaboration with like people like you or people like Ismail who are also just doing their own things in their own rights as well. So I just want to know how you feel about that. And even myself, like, we do Black art, but it's definitely aligned missions. So I just want to know how you feel.
I do want to do more collaborations, but you have to also understand there is a crabs in a barrel mentality as well, where a lot of creators, once they reach a particular level, they're not really that interested in collaborating with other people who might not be at the same level as they are. They're not necessarily integrate. I mean, I try to, because I now understand that, oh, wow, I'm at a level now that I'm above certain people, right? So I've got to also look at myself as, oh, I'm not a small creator anymore. I'm actually somebody who actually has a bit of a platform. So I've got to look at smaller creators and help them. If I agree with them, I at least feel like they're worth supporting, like give them a platform so people know who they are. But honestly, in terms of collaboration, yeah, I mean, I reach out to some people sometimes and I don't hear anything back. Like even, what's his name? I think, anyway, I'm not going to put anybody's names out there, but there's some people that I reach out to that they complain about people who are bigger than them not helping them. Then I reach out to them, but because they're bigger than me, I don't get a response. But I know that that I like, you get this sort of thing. So I view it more like this. I will keep doing what I do, because when I reached out to people, I had a smaller platform than them. Some people have gotten bigger than them now. There is a point that the people I've reached out to, my platform will be bigger than their platform. And there's a point we're going to get to where this is the biggest platform on the internet when it comes to Africa and the diaspora. I actually believe we're going to get to that point where this is the biggest platform when it comes to these conversations. And then all of a sudden, everybody will want to talk to you and want to collaborate with you. But more money, more problems. I already have more problems now because of where it is now than I did a year ago. So I know that when I grow YouTube now to 500K, it's going to be more problems than I have now. It's crazy. Like I have more scrutiny, more strikes, more issues, more trolls. That's why I've now started hiring people, because I'm like, I cannot even handle managing this platform. Because I've got like the kind of things that are happening. I'm like, wow, just the messages, the scams that people are trying to play, messages that people are trying to scam you to do deals with them and to do this. All of these things I expect. And for sure, the next phase, what next we're going to have is this. We're going to start having people making videos attacking the platform. That's the next phase. We're not quite there yet. We're going to get to the point, where somebody, you just suddenly see a video, the Merc is an operative of the Russia. The Merc, that's the next step.
Yeah.
We
For
haven't
sure.
yet got there. We're going to get to that stage where all of a sudden people, to get their own views, they're going to make videos about this to get views because they know that they're going to get it. That's the next phase. So I'm already aware that, oh, you know what? Let me be smart about what I produce now before it gets to that, which is why I said African history. I need to be smart. I'm focusing on the things that really matter because the politics, all that does, I'll tell you all that does. Yes, it educates people, but it brings a lot of people that just want to make noise.
They want to debate.
They just want to make noise. So there's a lot of Black and African people that just want to be angry about something.
Yeah.
So when you talk about politics, it brings a lot of those types of people who are not really trying to build anything. They're not trying to build anything. The educational content, very different community. It brings a lot of people who want to learn, who are interested in learning more, and are more likely to say, oh my God, I want to support in building this more education. Because I look at Dr. Uma's situation, for example, and I say, Dr. Uma, why do we even need a school to do what you're talking about doing? You don't need a bricks and mortar school. Just provide the info. We don't even need, like, if this is the case of just training people to be more productive Black Pan-Africans, why do you need to build a school for that to happen? Especially in this modern era, you don't need that. You don't need to collect all this money to do it. Like, there's no, and listen, obviously he started doing it in an era when that was the norm, because he's been doing it for so long. Now we've graduated to an era where we don't need that anymore. We don't need that.
Everything
Now,
is digital.
everything is digital now. So now it's just the ideas now, which is why I said the True History of Africa series, which will probably win Q2, is going to be valuable, because I said, you know what? We're in this era now where people just need the info.
Yeah.
They just need the information. People ain't needing to go into schools, just need the info. You need to give Black and African parents an option not to have to send their kids to these places to be indoctrinated. Once you can give them the option where they don't have to do that anymore, things change.
I personally feel that, like, there's a big need for discipline as well, especially like when I was saying, like, with the young people currently. But that's also almost like a whole separate conversation. But I just, like I was saying, I've done marching band and stuff like that, so I've had discipline instilled in me. But I also recognize that a lot of people don't see how it's very hard to attain most goals if you have the information without discipline to practice.
Well, I mean, look, the discipline aspect of things, we will, that's, like I said, it's a different convo, but let us bring this to a close. Any final words to you guys before I let you go? Any final thoughts? Please keep it quick so I can, close out the show.
I just appreciate you for having us.
Yeah, I've been here a few times, so I appreciate you allowing me back on. And because I had such a problem in the beginning with technology, I didn't want to put my microphone on mute. So a lot of people heard me co-sign in different comments. But I did want to just say that the most recent post that you made about African prosperity connected to capitalism, and you asked for respectful replies, respectful responses with our opinions. I posted a very lengthy one earlier. And so I look forward to that topic coming up, be it in, one of your posts or in the live. So I just wanted to say that. Okay. And thank you very much, as always. I appreciate your leadership. Yep.
Right. I'm most active on Instagram. I'll be sharing art and stuff like that as well. So if you get a chance to check it out, check it out.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much. All right. All right, guys. So I'm going to be signing out now. Like I said, if you're on YouTube, make sure that you are signed up to the newsletter, www.alkebolan.media. If you are on Substack already, you're already on the newsletter, consider becoming a paid subscriber. I'm really trying to get up to 1,000 paid subscribers on Substack, which would be amazing for the platform and everything I'm trying to do. You should subscribe to the paid Substack, not just to get perks or anything, but because you believe in the work that I'm doing and you believe in the newsletter and to support the newsletter and to make it easier for me to continue to do that work. That is the way you should view it, and also share it with your friends, family, and everybody who might be interested in learning about Africa's past, present, and future. And finally, if you're interested in the Substack is my newsletter. Toot side is my newsletter, www.alkebolan.media. Link is in my profile bio. And finally, for the 300, only apply to the 300 if you are serious, okay? Only apply to the 300 if you are serious. www.the300.io. That is THE 300.io. Thank you, everybody.